So you worked on, two questions. I want a technical question first, because I think this would be useful for the viewers and the listeners. Do you want to distinguish between the roles of producer, director, and editor? You know, these terms are bandied about all the time, but that doesn't mean that everybody who encounters them knows exactly what they mean. And so if, in your experience now, how would you characterize the role of a producer?
Yeah, that's interesting, because a producer is an interesting title, because that could be someone who does nothing at all or someone who does everything, at least in my experience. Now, I've been blessed to work with really good producers, but let's face it, you can't just put your name on something as a producer and do almost nothing towards it. But in a perfect world, a producer is kind of involved at an overseeing level at every step along the way. From the creative, the development, the production of the thing, into the post-production, and so they're going to have a voice and a say every step, and they kind of have this bird's eye view of the whole project.
And they're often arranging funding too, eh?
Right, funding, the logistics. So you rely on the producers, especially for the films that we've done. The logistics are a major challenge of because we're going out and we're making a movie, we're telling a story, but not everybody on camera quite knows what the story is. So not everyone's kind of in on the joke. In fact, nobody is but me. So that creates all kinds of logistical problems. And so we need brilliant producers that know how to make that work. And we do have that. Then the editors are going to be on the back end after you've already produced it. Now their job, now that we have the thing, we filmed it, now they got to cobble it together. And that's always a challenge in a film. I know with the kinds of films that we make, again, it's an even greater challenge because we have so much raw material. And now here's all this raw material. Now you have to sculpt it into something. You got all this clay, sculpted into something. And then the director is the person, is the captain of the ship, is the person steering the ship this whole way.
Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide, supporting everyone from established brands to entrepreneurs just starting their journey. You can create your professional storefront effortlessly with Shopify's extensive library of customizable templates designed to reflect your brand's unique identity. Boost your productivity with Shopify's AI-powered tools that craft compelling products, descriptions, engaging headlines, and even enhance your product's photography, all with just a few clicks. Plus, you can market your business like a pro without hiring a team. Easily develop and launch targeted email campaigns and social media content that reaches customers wherever they spend their time, online or offline. If that's not enough, Shopify offers expert guidance on every aspect of commerce, from inventory management to international shipping logistics to seamless return processing. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/JBP. Go to shopify.com/JBP. Again, that's shopify.com/JBP.
And the editor, the editing function I find particularly interesting. When I'm writing, I learned to edit from writing, and I write a lot more than I keep. And I probably edit for half the time that I write. Like I separate the functions. There's a writing function and an editing function. And I've become much more effective over the years at writing a better and better first draft. But editing, and I've also seen this with my other ventures, with Peterson Academy, for example, and with the Daily Wire as well, how important, with the documentaries that I've made for the Daily Wire, how important editing is. I mean, an editor can make or break a project, to time things properly with the music, to select only the best from all the excess footage, to make it stylish and punchy and well-timed. And so were you fortunate in your editorial team as well? And what kind of editorial role did you play?
Very fortunate editorial team. My role in the editing was pretty minimal. More involved than someone like me would normally be involved in something like that. But it was still, editing on a film like this is hours and hours and hours and hours every day in the editing bay. And that's not what I was doing. I kind of, maybe like once a week checking in, and especially when you're dealing with these once you get through the lion's share of the edit and you're down to, maybe you want the movie to be an hour 40, you're down to like an hour 50. And so you got 10 minutes to cut. And at least in the past two movies, that's where I'm the most involved, because most of the hard work's been done. Now we just got to figure out, there's like a couple things we got to take out of this, and here are a few candidates for what we might cut. And that's where I'm involved in helping to make those decisions. And I certainly got an appreciation for how important the editing is, because I can tell you that in both movies, I saw the first cut and I hated the first cut in both movies. I was devastated by how much I hated it. And of course, our director, Justin, he warned me, because I'd never seen a first cut of a movie before. So he warned me going in that this is going to be jarring, because you've never seen a movie that, like, you've never seen, if you're just a civilian, you've never seen what the rough draft of a movie is like. And I hadn't. And so I had that warning, but still I went in and I watched the rough cut on both movies, and I thought, well, this is terrible. This is the worst thing. It's an embarrassment. Our careers are over. And I got to be talked off the ledge a little bit. And as we went through the editing process, once we get through it, then you start to see, okay, like things that's little cuts, like, okay, this scene goes on 3 seconds too long. And when you cut that 3 seconds off, it goes from a scene that doesn't work at all and is terrible to a scene that is perfect. And the score, the music too, of course, is so important in a way that you don't quite. And there are little moments here. Maybe we just need to add a little pause there. Maybe we need to take a pause out of that spot. Just these little things that you don't appreciate how important those are to the final product.
Yeah, well, it's like timing a joke. I mean, all the words have to work, and not too many. And so, yeah, well, and you say there's something interesting about, in terms of assessing the creative process there too. It's like, one of the things that was striking about your documentaries is that you were inspired, in my estimation, by an important question in both cases, right? And you actually put them as questions. And the root word of question is quest, and when I'm lecturing in public on my tour, I always have the question in mind before I step on the stage, right? And so you served as a sponge on the cultural side, as far as I'm concerned, sort of soaking up the zeitgeist and distilling down the central political concerns. And you landed deep down in those concerns in both cases. The first concern was, well, to what degree is the notion of sex itself something that's only culturally created? To what degree is it biological? How does that influence our sense of reality itself? And is there a role for secondary elements of sexual identity, like gender? And that was a hot button topic, to say the least, right? And then your documentary laid out that question, and you did the same thing with, am I a racist? That's right. Well, what does it mean to be a racist? And if we establish the meaning, to what degree does that apply to me? And those are reasonable questions. People have their own in-group preferences. We're somewhat novelty averse, but also curious. Precisely what it means to be a racist is a complicated issue. And so you had those questions in mind. It might be useful for everybody watching and listening to think hard about what your comments about the first draft meant. Because one of the things I do when I'm teaching people to write, and we've built this into some new software that we've developed on called Essay, is encourage people to start with a question and then to write way more than they need, right? And that gives you some creative space to lay out the exploration. And I suspect that's what you saw when you saw the first draft of the movie, the first version. It's like, it's kind of all over the place, but that doesn't matter if you can edit it down. Like, it's so, there's a different, the part of your brain that produces and the part that edits are separate. And if you get them both operating at once, like you try to write the perfect sentence, let's say, then they interfere with each other. You can't produce and you can't edit. So you want to separate the production function and overproduce, and then you want to edit. And that sounds like exactly what happened to you when you were going through the first rough drafts of the movie. But obviously the gold was there.